couple of weeks ago, in one of his last interviews with the media, hell, it was one of his only interviews with the media all season because Brandon Ingram outright refuses to speak to the press. But during this press conference, B.I. made a comment that I thought was a strong indictment on Willie Green, the Weasel. Brandon Ingram told the media that the Pelicans were winning based on their talent alone. Now, the way I took it, B.I. was saying that the talent on the roster was able to overcome and win 49 games even with the horrific coaching. Now, I'm not going to sit here and call the Weasel the worst head coach in the NBA, but Willie is definitely near the bottom of the league. I don't see him developing into the next Steve Kerr. He doesn't have the acumen of a Greg Popovich. At this point, Willie Green is what he is: incompetent. The situation, it is similar for the entire NBA when it comes to overcoming the outright incompetence, overcoming the weak leadership of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. If the league is going to succeed, it's going to be in spite of Alice. I get so tired of hearing these media defenders of Alice Silver. Adam is swell. He's doing a great job as commissioner. He's a nice boy. Yeah, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he helps Chad Thundercott carry his groceries out of Wiener World. But when it comes to actually leading grown men, when it comes to making tough decisions, Adam Silver ain't that guy. Luckily, though, for Alice, there's an emerging superstar who is capable of carrying the NBA through the next 10, maybe even 15 years. Now, even though I don't agree with these comparisons, this dude is drawing comparisons to the real superstar, the legit icon of icons, Michael Jordan. The media is not comparing him to the fake GOAT. They're not comparing him to Billy Goat James. The mainstream media, they are comparing him to the real GOAT, Michael Jordan. But before we go any further, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Once we finished up the Mother's Day thing late yesterday afternoon, I spent the rest of the day watching the NBA playoffs. Like I told you guys yesterday, I think the second round of the NBA playoffs, I think they've been great. Yes, there have been some blowouts, but for the most part, every series has been competitive. For some reason, though, it just feels different this year. Doesn't feel as mainstream. It doesn't feel as big of a deal. When I opened my newsfeed this morning, you know what the leading story was? The NFL announcing Chiefs-Ravens as the first game of the regular season. The biggest story in sports media is a regular season game in the NFL that is 4 months away. I think we're in this transition period right now in the NBA. I don't know if the league will see the benefits in terms of ratings until next year, but Adam Silver, he is damn lucky. This dude lucked out with Anthony Edwards. Alice has a potential face of the league who is the complete opposite of LeBron James in one critical area: likability, relatability. After taking 2 games in Denver, Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves, or as Charles Barkley likes to call them, the Wolves. Woof, woof, the Wolves. The Wolves. Gotta love Charles Barkley. But after taking 2 games in Denver, Anthony Edwards and the Wolves, they returned home Friday night and they failed to show up. It was a disaster from the opening tip. The Nuggets completely neutered the Wolves on their home floor. They turned the Wolves into the Chihuahuas. During a break in the first quarter last night, TNT, they showed a post-game interview with Anthony Edwards after his team's disappointing performance from Friday night. After 2 decades of the self-proclaimed king LeBron James blaming everyone but himself for losses, when the Billy Goat fails, he'll blame the officials, he'll blame role players like the delusional D'Angelo Russell who thinks he is a superstar. LeBron, he will blame his knights, he'll blame deacons and parishioners at Woke United Methodist, the peasants, the pawns, the bishops. Hell, it's everyone's fault but LeBron's. After being humiliated on national television Friday night, this is how Anthony Edwards responded. Listen to his comments. Listen to who he blames, but also pay attention to his overall demeanor. Watch for yourself.
I wasn't aggressive. I blame myself. It's on me. I'll take the blame for this loss. I came out with no energy. At all. I came out flat, so and I can't afford to do that for my team. I let my team and my coaches down, the fans down, so I'll be ready Sunday.
Compared to 2 decades of LeBron James, wasn't that refreshing? Anthony Edwards, he wasn't making excuses. He didn't blame Jaden McDaniels or Karl Anthony Towns. He didn't blame the coaching staff. He wasn't bitching about the officials. Anthony Edwards, he looked the media in the eyes and said, "It's my fault. I let my team down. I let the city down. I came out flat. I didn't play with enough energy." That's what real leadership looks like. At 22 years old, Anthony Edwards, he knows that the rest of the team is going to follow his lead. If he's lazy, if he's lackadaisical, rest of the team will be the same way. If he's playing with force, if he is defending his ass off, rest of the team will follow his lead. These were not just empty words either. Anthony Edwards, he responded last night by scoring 44 points. He completely dominated the game. Now, sure, they still lost, but wasn't because Anthony Edwards failed to show up. Karl Anthony Towns failed to show up. And guess what? After the game last night, Karl Anthony Towns, he also took responsibility for failing to show up. Now, I wonder why. I wonder if he saw the leader of the team hold himself accountable Friday night, so when he had a poor performance, Karl Anthony Towns followed suit and held himself accountable. That's how leadership works. Now compare that to the leadership of LeBron James. Who took the blame when the Lakers were bounced in the first round of the playoffs? D'Angelo Russell took some of the blame throughout the series, but who took the blame once the Lakers season ended? Darvin Ham, the same Darvin Ham who was coaching the team when the Lakers finished the season 15-4. The same Darvin Ham who was coaching the team when the Lakers won that meaningless in-season tournament. The same Darvin Ham who coached the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals last year. All of a sudden, Darvin Ham is a bad coach? You know, maybe I would be willing to believe it if LeBron James hadn't made a career of being a coach killer. Frank Vogel wins the fake bubble championship with the Lakers in 2020, fired 2 years later. With LeBron James, it's always the coach, it's never LeBron. 20 years in the league, LeBron James, he has played for 9 head coaches. Next year, it's going to be 10. David Griffin was the general manager in Cleveland when they won the title in 2016. Even with all the success, David Griffin claimed he was miserable working with LeBron James. Dude won a title and he was miserable. He was constantly having to placate to the demands of the self-proclaimed king. During their championship season, David Blatt was the head coach. He was 30-11. He got fired mid-season. Why? Because LeBron wanted Ty Lue to be the head coach. 2 years later, he decided that he didn't want to be in Cleveland anymore, leaves Ty Lue to be coached by Luke Walton, who was gone after 1 season, along with the entire young core that the Lakers built through the draft. LeBron decided that he didn't want to play with the young players, so he convinced the Lakers to trade all the young players to New Orleans in exchange for the fragile Tony Davis. This is your GOAT? This guy? You want to claim that this dude is better than Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan didn't get coaches fired. He elevated them and everyone else around him. Now, if you're tired of hearing guys like Shannon Sharpe, "Hey, it's me, Shay." If you're tired of hearing the grown man who calls himself Shay affectionately and passionately refer to LeBron James as the Billy Goat, you're not the only one. Last night, Reggie Miller, he decided that he had had enough of the constant praising of LeBron James. Reggie Miller decided that he had finally had enough of the bullshit. After they played that clip of Anthony Edwards, Reggie Miller, he provided some subtle criticism of the Billy Goat. Now, I blanked out the visual for copyright reasons, but listen for yourself.
We've got certain guys with veteran status in our game that are on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore that like to deflect and and point fingers at others. Here's a 22-year-old saying, this is on me. It's my fault.
The only thing I didn't like about this was Reggie Miller not just coming out and saying that he's talking about LeBron James. Everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. The way he described it, there's only one player in the league that meets those qualifications. Well, KC, he could have been talking about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant? He wasn't talking about Kevin Durant. He was taking a subtle shot at LeBron James. Kevin Durant is not in the Mount Rushmore conversation. You know, let me take a moment here to apologize to Father Jalen Rose, former lead pastor at Woke United Methodist. I know he experiences agonizing pain when he hears the term Mount Rushmore. I had briefly forgotten that the esteemed pastor has forbidden us from using that term. So let me correct myself for Father Jalen Rose before he convicts me for violating the woke commandments. Kevin Durant isn't in the mountain that features the faces of former presidents located in South Dakota. KD is not in that conversation. Now, he should have been. Kevin Durant, he is one of the most prolific scorers the league's ever seen. Unfortunately, and I like Kevin Durant, but unfortunately, he has tarnished his own legacy. Reggie Miller was clearly talking about LeBron James, and he is absolutely right with his criticism. You cannot be the greatest of all time while blaming others for your failures. When the Bulls lost to the Pistons in Game 7 and Scottie Pippen had that migraine, Michael Jordan didn't blame Scottie Pippen for the loss. He didn't blame some doofus migraine. You know what he did the next day? He called up his trainer, hit the gym to get stronger. Instead of blaming Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, he made himself better. You know, I usually don't engage in this ridiculous debate on the channel because to me, there is no debate to be had here. LeBron James is in my generation. He's the same age as me, but he is not even close to matching the career, to matching the greatness of Michael Jordan. Look at the NBA under Jordan. Look at the league under LeBron James. Teams, or in this case leagues, they tend to emulate the characteristics of their leader. During the Jordan era, the NBA was tough. It was rugged. The regular season actually meant something. Guys competed their ass off during the All-Star game. Look at the direction of the league with the leadership of LeBron James. Whining, complaining, lack of competitiveness. NBA players are perceived as divas, entitled, woke. 4 years ago, I said LeBron James would be the first face of the NBA that will leave the league in worse condition than it was when he came into it. And that is exactly what happened. So you tell me, how can he be the greatest of all time? Seriously. You tell me, how can LeBron James be the GOAT? Also, give me your thoughts on Reggie Miller subtly calling out LeBron James. Only thing I didn't like about it was Reggie Miller not calling him out directly, but I thought Reggie Miller was 100% right with his criticism of LeBron. What about you? Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter, and I'll see you guys later.